Ladies and gentlemen, it really is a great pleasure and honor for me to address BioAfrica Convention 2025 gathering, a conference that stands as a beacon for science innovation and collaborative progress on our continent. Let me start by commending you for your theme of moving towards self-reliance to achieve universal health coverage and health security in Africa. This indeed captures the primary goal for our continent in the health sector, precisely the issues that we have outlined here, especially the issue of universal health coverage, which I will say something about a little bit. Your theme highlights the important issue of self-reliance. We all recall how the COVID-19 pandemic exposed the vulnerabilities inherent in over-reliance on imported health products, but it also highlighted the tremendous potential of coordinated scientific and industrial action. For this and other reasons, it is critical for Africa's policymakers, researchers and scientists to understand that we can't be confident about a sustainable future for our continent if we don't deliberately invest in the development of sovereign capabilities in all critical areas of human development, including healthcare. One thing I normally emphasize: the youthful nature of our continent. It may seem as a huge disadvantage to some people, but to me that demographic is a huge potential. If you can really empower and train Africa's youth, they will not only make a difference in the African continent, but they will make a difference in the whole world. If we can harness that youth energy into the priorities that we need, that will be a game changer globally, to be quite honest. So we have an advantage that we need to secure and work to strengthen unapologetically. Standing here among visionary minds and committed allies, I am reminded that collective action has always driven the most meaningful advances in public health and sustainable economic development. Similarly, visionary political leadership and strategic commitment are far more than just catchphrases. They represent the entire engine by which nations build robust innovation ecosystems and resilient domestic manufacturing capabilities in health. This is why, as the government of South Africa, we have consciously placed science, technology, and innovation at the heart of our country's development strategy. Of course, that's also our ambition, because it's quite a tall order in many respects to struggle to place science at the center of development. Worse, when there are some world leaders today who are saying they are suspicious of science, they are suspicious of vaccines, they want to run the world through what they call common sense. I can't believe this in this day and age, when we need to place science at the center of all what we are trying to be, including governance itself. Through our Department of Science, Technology and Innovation here in South Africa, our actions are guided by our Decadal Plan on Science, Technology and Innovation. We call it Decadal because it's a 10-year plan. From 2022 to 2032. A framework unified by the vision that research must drive inclusive growth, meaningful social transformations, and a sustainable future. I like to emphasize this thing, by the way, because it looks like the world, in terms of economic thinking, it's on a reverse again. In our country, we correctly speak about the necessity for economic growth. But growth in itself may not actually address the problems that we want to address. We need to look at the nature of that growth, the character of that growth, who are the beneficiaries in that growth, so that we have what in South Africa now we call inclusive growth. And we must place science at the center of that effort. Our country's 10-year plan, the Decadal plan, specifically identifies health innovation as a core science, technology, and innovation priority, alongside energy innovation, and explicitly targets the development of domestic capabilities across the entire health value chain, from discovery to local manufacturing of vaccines, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and diagnostics. We want to be in the entire value chain, starting with science, research and development, and innovation to actual health products, whether it's therapeutics or diagnostics or vaccines that we need for our continent. Throughout recent years, this commitment has been translated into concrete mechanisms, which include the following: the expansion of the South African research infrastructure roadmap, the strengthening of institutions and science councils like the South African Medical Research Council and the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and the mobilization of networks such as our Technology Innovation Agency and the Science and Technology Parks. I was talking to our DG here that I'm now converted. I knew about the necessity to build technoparks in our continent in order to cement the ecosystem for science, technology, and innovation. They are very important. These platforms I've just mentioned have proven vital in forging a resilient, innovative system capable of responding not only to national needs but also to regional and continental imperatives. South Africa's laboratories pivoted rapidly to diagnostics and clinical research. Manufacturers mobilized to fill critical gaps, and our innovation ecosystem moved purposefully from crisis management to laying the groundwork for lasting transformation. In South Africa also, by the way, we are in the process of introducing what we call the National Health Insurance Scheme, the NHR, which is a progressive intervention. Some people have turned this into a swear word, NHI. NHI simply means universal access to health. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. Because the United Nations itself has identified this as part of the SDGs, that what we need, particularly developing countries, is universal access to healthcare. Think about our situation in South Africa, by the way. Only 14% of South Africa's population is on medical aid. Yet the country spends more than 80% of its health resources on this 14% of the population. It's a huge injustice. That is what we are seeking to address, and that's a challenge for our whole continent, that the issue of pursuing universal access to health must be a priority. We have private healthcare sector in South Africa. But unfortunately, what is happening is now the tendency to place the interests of the private healthcare sector above the interests of the majority of the people in our country. Now, I may sound very controversial. Just to give another example. Yesterday, I see headline in the Citizen newspaper saying road accident fund collapses a hospital. I mean, this is really generating negativity towards the road accident fund, because it's beginning to ask questions that there is, since 2003, a private hospital that has existed from skimming off the road accident fund. But this newspaper is turning this upside down as if it's RAP that is killing the health system, generating end. It's the same thing now, that catering for 14% of the people through medical aid is being elevated as the alpha and omega of our health system. It can't be, because that will only just perpetuate inequality that we are having. In order to support programs for universal access to healthcare, we need to build sovereign state capacity through programs that are based on research and development and science, technology, and innovation. Let me now turn to a truly historic development: the launch of the Africa CDC Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan in 2025. Spearheaded by the African Union, Afrexim Bank, and GAVI, with a monumental $3.2 billion investment. This is truly historic and has got the potential of laying a very important foundation to realize what your theme is talking about in our continent. This plan aims to ensure that by 2040, at least 60% of all vaccines used in Africa are produced within Africa's own borders. It is about more than new facilities or technology transfers. It is an integrated ambition to equip Africa's people, scientists, and manufacturers with tools and skills to secure the continent's health sovereignty. Cheers to this initiative. The plan focuses on expanding manufacturing capacity for vaccines, biologics, and APIs, establishing regional hubs, implementing World Health Organization quality standards, and harmonizing regulation through the African Medicines Agency. Investments are likewise being channeled into targeted workforce development programs, such as our nationally led Skills for Industry initiative here in South Africa. To enable the scale and impact of these efforts, we acknowledge the crucial role of international funders, including the backing we are getting from UNICEF, for instance, whose partnerships are helping to establish regional centers of excellence. Furthermore, we are stimulating private sector capacity and mechanisms like pooled procurement to offer market assurance to our manufacturers and inspire new investments. By the way, one of the biggest limitations in terms of producing vaccines in the continent is the existence of a market to actually procure that. And we want to argue that governments have got a very important role to play in prioritizing the procurement of locally produced medicines, therapeutics, and diagnostics. This continental momentum is fully mirrored in South Africa's own domestic work, which I would like to briefly talk about. Our department's Vaccine Innovation and Manufacturing Strategy, which we call VIMS, it reminds me of the old powder called Vim, shows my age. Is Vim still there, by the way? These VIMs are strategic, currently in development, is supporting homegrown production platforms for diseases of both local and continental relevance. Technical cooperation with Germany, the European Union, the GIZ, through initiatives such as South African VEX, Joint Action, and the Team Europe initiative MAV+, is bringing targeted support specifically geared towards establishing robust mRNA technology platforms. We appreciate these partnerships, by the way. But these partnerships also must understand that the priority is to develop a sovereign African research and development agenda, and that they should support us rather than donors to be able to tell us what our priorities should be, and in the end it ends up not addressing our priorities but addressing the priorities of donors. This must distinguish between the true friends of Africa from those who want to use Africa as a laboratory for other agendas that we don't know. This support is already yielding major benefits, notably with BioVac being poised to benefit from the GAVI-led African Vaccine Manufacturing Accelerator, a critical initiative that signals assured demand and sustainability for African-produced vaccines. Collaborative ventures with our agency, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, ensure that our workforce and technology transfer systems remain at the cutting edge. This involves multi-sectoral partnerships across academia and the private sector, with a focus on harmonizing regulatory and quality standards across African regions to de-risk market access, the point that I was making. This comprehensive approach is designed to position South Africa not simply for local South African benefit, but as a leading manufacturing hub for the continent at large. South Africa's approach is deliberately harmonized with Africa's CDC pharmaceutical manufacturing plan. We support the rollout of the African Manufacturing Market Intelligence Network and are investing in pooled procurement and harmonized regulation, seeking to catalyze a seamless continental market for African-made health solutions, which, by the way, must also harness Africa's own indigenous knowledge systems, which are a very critical component of what we are trying to do. Nationally, we are ensuring that funding from the South African government to blended finance partnerships advances the entire pipeline, as I have said, from early stage research through to commercial scale-up and sustained impact. Now, what are the critical next steps then? That a conference like this has got a very important role to play in outlining these critical next steps. As we move forward, the next imperative is to deliver on scale. We are expanding our pathogen genomics and vaccine manufacturing programs, with our genomics work exemplified by the nationally led 110K genome sequencing study. You know, at this point, by the way, DG, we should be able to inform this gathering that as president of the G20, we've managed to place on the agenda of the research and innovation working group of the G20, which we lead, as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation to look into the study of genetic diversity in the African continent. We are the least studied of all the continents, yet we are the most genetically diverse, and we are the origins of humanity. Our diagnostics and therapeutics will forever remain deficient if they operate in an environment where we don't have detailed knowledge of the genomic diversity in the African continent. We are very pleased that the G20 has embraced this. When the United States was absent, they didn't come. Argentina was opposing everything we were saying, but we've got decisions and agreements that we've made to say that this is one big priority, to study genetic diversity in the African continent. We're very proud of that contribution. Furthermore, we are actively looking at, yes, we should be clapping hands big time. Especially as I'm addressing an African meeting, not an EU meeting. Now, this comprehensive effort is critical to anchoring local capacity for the production of strategic biologics, including mRNA vaccine components and next-generation diagnostic tools. Furthermore, we are actively looking at the feasibility of supporting One Health consortia that bridge human, animal, and environmental health, with an initial focus on zoonotic disease surveillance and climate-related health risks. Critically, our policies remain anchored in inclusive development, expanding skills, supporting entrepreneurs, and using innovation as a vector for job creation and social improvement. Colleagues, the Africa CDC Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan and our department's led actions illuminate the potential of vision when paired with action. Together, they prove that political will, scientific excellence, and cross-sectoral collaboration can transform Africa's role in global health from consumer to creator, from recipient to export, from vulnerability to sovereignty. Our challenge and obligation as policymakers, researchers, and industrialists is to turn these plans into performance and these ambitions into real changes in the lives of the people we serve. In conclusion, I would like to thank all partners, innovators, and change makers present here, and invite continued collaboration as we drive forward Africa's innovation renaissance together. Let us commit to leading with knowledge, investing with intention, and producing with purpose. Let us resolve that Africa's future will be defined by the ingenuity and determination of its own people, supported by true global and international friends. I thank you and I wish you a successful convention. Thank you very much.